Welcome to QueenGastroPodcast, the official podcast of the unofficial ambassadors of the city of Eugene, the Slug Queens. This is your chance to take a peek under the crowns and get to know the people behind the sashes and the sequins and to learn about the community issues that we're all involved in. I'm Leanne Joshua, aka Queen Glow, and I'll be your host for these conversations about how we can work and play together to make our city more just, supportive, and a fun place for everyone. And boy, do I have just the guest for this today. It is Mark Roberts, aka Old Queen Markelo Parkelo, who has been doing work in justice and peace for such a long time. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you very much, Leanne. Can I call you Leanne?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
All right.
It's
All right.
so hard when you have so many names,
I
right?
know it's really hard to remember I want to remember all the old queen's names and the current queen, and I've just been kind of out of it. But anyway, thank you for inviting me today.
Oh, I've just been looking forward to this because I admire the work you do with the Center for Dialogue and Resolution. And I can't think of anything we need more in today's world than a little more dialogue and resolution and peace. So please tell us what we need to do.
Yeah, I've got the answers for here.
Oh,
Well,
I'm
I
glad.
I tell you, in my professional work as a mediator, I've got a lot of experience with it, like more than 15 years of working in the small claims court, working in the community, helping people resolve their conflicts, and it's very successful. I mean, it's like 80-90% of the time people are able to go places where they haven't been before, which is to listen to each other. That's a big thing, listening to each other, people one at a time. But I tell you, I am so chagrined and humbled by the experience that I've had with my own personal conflicts. Um,
I was going to ask about that.
yeah, it's a lot harder when it's harder for me when I'm involved in it myself, when I'm one of the participants in it. I just to have that perspective and that distance. So my example is my mom broke her leg. She's 104 years old. She broke her leg in July, and I came to live with her. And along with the deal goes I'm managing a team of caregivers for her. And I had a conflict with one of them. It was very, very difficult to communicate with one of them. And I'm going, and my breathing is shallow and my face is hot. And I'm starting to yell at this person. And
Oh, no.
I know, no, no, this is not the time to be when I'm in this fight, flight, freeze. The brain is so powerful, that ancient brain in there that wants to save our lives. But wait, this is over a house plant that I'm having these conniption fits for. So yeah, I just want to iterate that yeah, in a professional setting, it's very straightforward what you can do to help people who are in conflict with each other. And it's harder when, like, my friends come to me too sometimes, and they're having a conflict with one of their friends. And it's a lot. Often I'll try to recuse myself, get somebody who's not in a relationship with them, because it changes the relationship to be in that kind of power situation. Even though I don't see it as I'm in a powerful position
Right.
because I'm kind of guiding the conversation, and
Yeah.
people agree to that.
Well, I know that my second divorce, that's right, that my second, the middle one, we used a mediator. I could tell it was a struggle for the mediator too, because the conflicts were there and they were powerful and there's a lot of emotion. So I
Yeah,
really admire people who can look at something that is so fraught with emotions that are
yeah.
clashing so heavily and take a step back and try to find some kind of middle ground.
Yeah. And so divorce mediation, that's how I got introduced to mediation in the first place when I got my divorce. And it was like we were very amicable with each other, and we didn't really have we didn't really have high emotions about it. It was just kind of the logistics of it, but it was really thorough and brought up things that we hadn't thought to talk to each other about. So it was very helpful. And then it was 10 years later, more than 10 years later than that, that I became interested in nonviolent communication. And then mediation is kind of the way that the rubber meets the road for nonviolent communication. It's like it's a way that you could show the power of listening and to be aware of judgments and to let the judgments put the judgments behind me. That's not what I'm here for, to be in that judgmental role.
That's, you said the power of listening, and it's really interesting because my primary focus in helping people manage their stress is improv, play, and laughter. And one of the things that improv teaches better than anything else that I've been exposed to is listening to each other, because you cannot say yes and to somebody else if your brain is shutting them down all the time.
Yeah.
And I think listening is such an imperative part to so much of our lives, and yet we are so habituated to not do that.
Yeah. 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 To want to speak, to want to be speak and be heard, it's a very basic human need. We want to be heard. We want to matter to other people. And sometimes when we're hearing people and we might go into judgment. We have a disagreement with them, or even an agreement with them. It's just like judging what people are saying rather than really getting the gist of it and reflecting back what you're hearing in a way that's accurate. So you can ask somebody. So what I'm hearing from you is that right? Am I getting it? Is there more? There's usually more, and especially when people are in conflict or very sad or angry or whatever, a strong emotion. When they're in strong emotions, there's usually more to it. You start to listen, reflect back quickly. Don't let people go on very long in mediation or in a conversation with people. If you get too much information, it's hard to respond accurately. So taking it in bite-sized chunks and to go, hold on just a second, I want to interrupt you. And that's actually a good thing to say to people is, I'd like to
Yeah.
interrupt you. And you're acknowledging I'm interrupting you, and
Yeah.
I'm doing it for clarity. That's why I'm interrupting you. So
So
yeah,
I have a difficult question that I've been thinking about when it comes to trying to have conversations with people with whom you disagree, and there's a lot of that happening right now.
yeah, yeah,
Um, what if you feel like there is a moral discrepancy between the two people? One person is
yeah.
got one set of morals and doesn't see the other person as having any, and perhaps vice versa.
Well, I'm thinking about Marshall Rosenberg's notion of protective use of force. There is a time to use force and to go, no, we're not going to. I'm not going to listen to you. I'm not going to do that. That's harmful. That's harmful to people. That's violent, and I'm going to stop it, not to hurt you, not to not to judge you or call you a name, but just it's intolerable. I'm going to not let that happen. So I don't know if. So the moral thing, like somebody has a value that's really valuable to them right now, like they think that. Maybe sexual stuff, like about trans athletes or something that,
Good
like it's
example.
yeah, yeah, it strikes our moral sensibilities to see a class of people or an individual person discriminated against because of values and morals that have been brought about by thousands of years of conditioning by kings and religions, and we've been indoctrinated by our language, the way we use language. It's a static language. We are things. We're not a process. And so, if you live in the land of process, we're a wide spectrum of humanity and of life, and to separate us and to get us divided is like we're nouns. We're static. You are this. You're that color. You're a woman. I'm a man. I'm gay. I'm whatever it is. I'm a slug queen. So we get these titles, and these words. And so the work that we're doing, I mean, it's not just suddenly Trump or Nixon or Bush or people that I totally disagree with, and I saw the harm that's done, wars and killing people. It's just it's unconscionable to go along with it and to pay taxes for it even is just
Right.
really alarming. Uh, but but to realize, to put things in perspective, like Heather Cox Richardson, I don't know if you follow her,
Oh, of
but
course.
putting things into, my mom turned me on to her. And so I read every day. This is not new. We've seen this before. We've seen it before. It helps to put things into perspective and to know that we've got a battle to have life support for the poorest people, for the people who need the help the most. That's where we want to put our energy and to bring everybody up
Right.
so that we don't have to lock our bicycles and have guns and things because when people are taken care of and elevated and have a roof over their head and have food and have a system that's just. So we got a lot of work to do, and it's not going to happen overnight or maybe ever. We might lose. That's what Ken Kesey says. We thought the hippies and the love thing that we were going to win the day and that we were going to convince everybody and we're going to win. But no, we're going to lose. But that doesn't mean we do anything different.
I was at the Women's March on Saturday, and a reporter for the Register Guard was talking to me, and she said, "So, how long have you been fighting for women's rights?" And I said, "Since 1972, when I walked out on my 10th grade history class because we never learned about any women doing anything ever." And I said that just couldn't possibly be true. And so, as somebody who's been in that movement for that long, I understand those peaks and valleys and one step forward and three steps backwards. But
Yeah.
when you're new to it, like some of the younger generation who are just now being exposed, who thought when I was teaching at the U of O, and that was my last teaching date was only 8 years ago, there were students in my classes then who kept saying, well, we're post-racial and we're post-gender. And it's like, no, we're
Yeah.
not. It's never post. You're always going to have to fight for it, which is why I think what you're doing is so important, because if you can teach people to be a little more measured and to use their language better and to listen better, that even when we have these huge moral chasms, at least we're able to temper our own responses.
Yeah, the hope is really with large part with young people, with to teach from the very beginning how to resolve conflict. So I worked for years in the school at Cesar Chavez school, and the other one that's connected with it. Whatever it was. Anyway, we'd teach the fifth graders.
Oh,
We'd have 3 days, 3 days of training in how to resolve conflict on the playground. So the idea is they have these sashes, mediator sashes, and they have the training and they go out in pairs. And if they see any conflict in the playground, they can address it and say, "Hey, would you like to do this?" and invite them to a quiet place. And I thought at the end of a couple of years, I was so frustrated with the schools, with the principals of the schools, because it seemed like they were doing it. If there was ever a real conflict between kids, they'd take it away from the mediators and they do their regular thing of disciplining people. And I thought I was so frustrated and sad at the end of a couple of years and when I was done, turned the program over to some other folks, I thought, what a waste. But then uh, Therese Picado, who started the program, it was when the shootings happened in Springfield. You know, the shootings at the high school there,
yes.
Thurston. She was in her car with her kids, and she was listening to this on the radio, and she had to pull over, and she was crying, and she said, "I'm going to do something about this. I swear to you, and you make sure that I follow through with it. I swear to you, I'm going to do something about it." And she started the mediation program for kids so that kids like whoever I forget the Kip Kinkle or something like
Yeah.
that, the kid who was there, who whatever was going on for him, that there's a possibility that you could notice, you could talk with, you could understand somebody. Um, so that's what she did. She started the program with the fifth graders, and then I saw her several months ago, and she was telling me about meeting some of the kids that she did the program for 10, 15 years. She did this program. She said she's talked to some of the kids who are now grown up, they're 20, 25 years old. And she says, what's something that mediation program helped you with? And she said, "Oh my God, the response. That was the most important thing in my whole schooling. It's the one thing I remember and it's helped me so much in my relationships." And I'm going, we didn't fail. No, just because we didn't change the system of the school, we're helped giving tools to people one at a time here and whole
Yeah, you're
groups of
planting
people.
seeds. I mean, all education is about planting seeds, and you may see nothing for
Yeah, and I
years.
was yeah, and I was thinking, oh yeah, the school is going to transform, and they're not going to suspend people anymore. They're going to work it out. No, no, no. It's longer than that, but we're in it for the long haul.
Well, that's a fabulous idea, and I wish that it was everywhere. And it reminds me of, both Green Hill and one of my favorite animal sanctuaries, Blue Barn. They both do some humane education, and I know that Blue Barn, is about teaching empathy. And if we could get the younger kids to learn about the value of empathy, and then when they get a little older, if we can teach them mediation skills, and when they get a little older, we can teach them how to be critical thinkers. I mean, this is the kind of thing I think we need our educational system to focus on rather than, just pushing everybody into a very specific set of curricula that has
Yeah,
been outdated, in my opinion, for a very long time.
yeah. Well, and I always wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to teach young kids, and then I realized that I didn't want to be in a regular classroom where I had to be a disciplinarian and have people all sitting, all the same age, sitting facing forward in their chairs. In my education about education, finding out where did this system come from? Where did we go to get away from these one-room schoolhouses where all the kids of all different ages would teach each other, and there'd be usually a 20-year-old young woman who's just graduated from college would be the head teacher, and they've got some knowledge and some authority, and they're not that far away in age from these kids too. Some of them
Right.
are just right underneath there. And so we changed in 1855. We adopted the Prussian military method of training, which
I knew
is,
the military had to be in there somewhere.
yep, the military's in there. Of why we do it the way we do it is so people will obey orders, will sit still, do what the authoritarian leader says to do. Now it's time for reading. Okay, ding ding. Now's the bell. You salivate and you shut your book, and now it's time for math. Well, I hated that when I was in fourth
Oh,
grade. I just wanted to read. I didn't want to do
and
math
I
and do
I
other
am a
things.
creative, and even though I did very well in school, I never felt like I would have learned so much more if I could have determined my own program because
Yeah,
I have ADD and I'm very creative and I don't like rules at all.
yeah,
Well, we're going to have to wind up here, but I want to
uh-huh,
ask you one more question.
yeah,
What about there's so much debate online that happens with people that never even meet each other? Is there any way are there any resolution tools that you can use in that kind of conflict with people who you don't even know? You never see face to face, but other than blocking them, you feel like you can't have a decent conversation.
yeah. I I don't know. I'm kind of forlorn about the like. This is good. I can see your face, and the connection's very good. I can hear you, and I've got a connection with you. I've got a long-standing connection with you, so it's easy to communicate. But when COVID hit and face-to-face mediations essentially went away,
Yeah.
just suddenly, my small claims court, which was the dearest day, that every Monday morning I'd wake up at 8 o'clock, go down to the court, and sit with people. The first thing they had to do before they could see a judge is go into a room and talk with each other. And I looked forward to Mondays because every once in a while you get a friendship that's been torn apart by some business deal or some miscommunication, and you can rectify it because they can listen to each other of things they hadn't heard before and become friends again right before your eyes. That only happens once in a great while. Most of them are kind of business things, but the success rate was so good. So the doing things by telephone or even Zoom calls, it misses so much. Being in person,
Yeah.
being in a room with a person is so much more powerful.
And
But
perhaps that's part of our divisiveness is that we don't really get to know one another. I mean, a person on Facebook is not who that person is.
yeah,
There is so much more to each of us than we let people in on online.
yeah. And when we're simpatico like you and I are, we're raising each other up, listening to each other. But if we were having a conflict that we're meeting about, it's so easy when you're not in the same room to just say whatever you will. The consequences just don't seem to be there. So even
Right.
the smells and the touches, the feeling, breathing the same air together, it's so much more powerful. So I wish I had a more positive answer for it. But I think, yeah, the social media thing is just really it's really messing with our systems.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate this conversation because I think we have a lot to learn and you have a lot to help teach us. But as with everything, it seems like finding peace and resolution with one another is just a work in progress.
Yeah.
So I just want to say to those of you who are listening, thank you for listening to Queen Gastro Podcast. We hope that you learned a little and laughed a bit and felt inspired to build community. And remember this, take things slowly and leave a glittery trail wherever you go.